So we're going to talk today about listings and getting listings in today's market. We're going to do some mastermind. We're going to do some role play. We're going to just have some conversations about what the struggles are, what's winning for you, what are you doing that's working to get the listings in today's market. We're going to switch it up a little bit. Today's the day for panels. We have mega camp panels, so we're going to be doing it a little bit again today. I have so graciously asked for 3 people to help do and talk about their listings and do the role play with us. We have Ashley Lazarian, who is with Sarah's team, or with, I forget what your team name is. That's it. So we have a mega team person speaking. We have a top-ranked individual agent talking today about how she's getting her listings. And Chip is going to be talking to us as a newer agent that's killing it right now. So he's in the coaching program and just heard great things, and he's doing wonderful things. So he's going to talk to us a little bit about what he's doing, getting listings from a newer agent perspective and what conversations he's having. So I will start out first by having them come up and they'll introduce themselves, kind of tell a little bit about their business, and then we'll start doing the deep dive into the listing side of it. We'll do the role play. We can ask for people from our wonderful audience to role play with them, or I can role play with them, or however we want to do it. We've got different topics that's going on in today's market that we'll ask them and see how they're going to handle the objections, what they're going to do to win the listing. Okay, and then it will definitely be all open. Stop us in the middle. Stop us in the middle of the role play if you have questions like, "Hey, I just had that happen to me. I said this. What would you say?" Or something along those lines. It's very interactive, very casual. Nothing super structured. We all want to learn from each other. And if you have something that you're doing that's working really well and you're getting a lot of good feedback or you're getting a lot of response, please share that, because that's what this is going to be about. So Ashley, if you can come up here, then Eileen, you get to do double duty today, being on Mega Camp and listing, and Chip, I don't know. Okay. And please ask them if you have any questions about this or what they're doing. I felt that this may be a little bit easier than me just sitting here talking for an hour about how to get a listing, because we're all going to be doing it different. We're all going to have different conversations and what works. So we'll start out by just asking, y'all tell us a little bit about how long you've been in the business, where you came from, that kind of thing. Just so people can get an idea.
So I've been licensed since 2005. I was on a team. Well, I worked for a builder first, and then 2008 happened and there were no builders. And so I went into resale and was on a team. And then I went out as an individual agent for about 11 years. And then Sarah and I partnered, I guess it's been about 1.5 years ago at this point.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
This is my first year. This is my retirement career. Career number 4.
Okay.
So
Which has been the best.
Yeah. My whole background is business management and project management.
Okay.
So it's been a shift. I'm very used to construction, dealing with code enforcement, dealing with builders, dealing with all of that, handling projects, but I'm very accustomed to, you do this, and this is what happens, and you move this in this very structured.
Mm-hmm.
So being in sales, kind of a new world. So, and I'm just basically, I understand that I don't know what I don't know, and I'm just dumb enough to just do what I'm told. So,
smart guy.
Whatever agent says, that's what I'm
doing.
That's a system, just getting here. Here's my spreadsheet, here's my Gantt chart, this is what I'm doing, follow it, got it, locked. So.
Awesome. Okay, well, you're doing something right. You're sitting up here with us today. So, Eileen?
I joined Keller Williams in 2017. It's the only brokerage I've been with. Prior to this, I was, we moved to Atlanta from the Virgin Islands in 2013. So my kids were small. I was substitute teaching and trying to find a job. Amy Young gave me a chance as an admin. I don't think I was the greatest admin, and And she said, why don't you get your license? I got my license, never had ever considered it.
I did not know that about
Briefly, she was our agent, she helped us buy our house, and when I was being the networker that I am, I was looking for a job. Prior to that, in college, my degree was in hotel hospitality. And I worked for Marriott and different hotels, and then when we moved back to the Virgin Islands, which was home for me, I worked for a small private independent school, and I did fundraising and events and admissions.
All right, Ashley, tell, I mean, we don't have to go in order like this, just number up. Tell me about your production, or tell us about what your production is right now, or for 2022 so
Okay.
far.
So for 2022, we've done, we've right at 65 transactions so far. Earlier in the year, it was mainly myself and one other agent, and my assistant, Maitland, who helps more than you'll ever know to keep our ship running smoothly. And then we've added a couple of newer agents recently. So we've been trying more than ever to kind of double down on Sphere right now, because the last 2 years I feel like it's been a whirlwind and you didn't really have time to do everything that you should be doing with them. So we've been trying to kind of double down on that. So I think we're between 20 and 25 million for this year right now. Yeah.
Right, those are 25.
Right there.
Yeah.
I have, you said 65 transactions?
Yes, ma'am.
Wow.
And how many people, so as of today, how many people total are working in your,
Are actively selling?
yes,
3 are actively selling.
Okay. and then you have Maitland,
Yes.
and that's
So,
it.
okay, so the 23 of you had 65 transactions, so we did that.
Yes, 2 of them just came on. So for a while, it was just myself and one other agent. The other 2 just literally came on like a month ago. So
I'm so I'm 3, you got 60.
I won't lie to you, I cry. Like I do sometimes.
So is that ST Point Homes, is that right? Or-
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yes.
Mhm.
Awesome.
Right, Chip?
I don't have a sphere. Well, you know, I mean, 40 years of everybody worked for me.
Mhm.
So, and I'm old school, you don't fraternize. So didn't really have relationships of that type with people who worked for me. So I pretty much just kind of figured out what I wanted to do back to the 1st of April and started with the letters.
Mhm.
And as of today, I've got 5 active listings, 2 more listings that will hit during September, possibly a 3rd. 5 more in the active pipeline
Mhm.
that in the next 90 days, and then 5 more in an extended pipeline, more like about a year.
Right.
So right around 6 million in volume in the pipeline since April 1st.
And Chip, when I asked him to do this, he said, I don't think I'm credible enough to be up there talking. And I'm like, here's your story.
Tell me your number again, the last number?
About 6 million in volume.
So
Yeah,
you,
So,
you made a letter and you just sent it out to neighbors?
Say I'm a charts and graphs guy, so I have to be able to track everything, or else I'm not comfortable. I can't do anything just haphazard. I'm OCD in that way. So I just kind of took Google Earth, you know, which you can get on Google, and stuck it in my house. And then just started expanding from my house for about 3 to 5 miles. And every single neighborhood that I hit, I would go in and find out owner occupied, been there at least 3 years. And I would send them a letter. And I've done within about a 3 to 5 mile radius of my house, I've covered every neighborhood. And just 50 a day, every day, without fail, 250 a week, they just go.
are you newer to the office?
I'm new to the office.
Okay. We have something called a golden letter, and this is what Chip does. And I mean,
Yeah, and we are doing revisiting that topic at team meeting September 13th. We're gonna do a deep dive and Chip's gonna share and we'll give you the exact letter and revisit that process. that we
he
walked
really
through
has
in the year.
grasped that concept. So a lot of people tried it and they've given up. He hasn't given up. And you can see with his pipeline, not giving up, or finding the one thing. If you were here, you sat kind of near each other, finding that one thing and just doing it, how it's paying off for him. So, and we keep asking the questions, and we can revisit that, or I'm sure Chip would be more than happy to share some of those golden letter tactics that he's doing. I will say that I went on a listing appointment in Beaufort with a referral, and I was sitting at their table, and she goes, well, we got this sweet letter from this guy. And she puts it down, and I'm like, look at Chip. She did, and I'm like, he is doing what he's supposed to be doing. Good job, good job.
But I'm looking at the, I don't know, rough cost, that's $180 a week you're showing out in postage. Something.
Yeah, postage have gone up to 60 cents.
Yeah.
So,
It did?
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, 60 cents. But I get my postage through the post office.
Yeah.
I just order it
Oh,
online,
okay, so
so
you're
I'm not
talking about-
paying the extra fees and stuff. I'll order like 300 stamps at a time.
Yeah.
So you do how many a week?
Hmm?
You said a week?
About $250 a week,
Oh, 250, okay.
yeah.
So
And,
you're
and,
even doing it with the post office stamp on it, not like.
and that's one of the things that I've heard from the people that I've talked to. Actually, one of my listings, both of them are mail carriers. And I asked them, why my letter? I mean, because I received them, I mean, I get 20 a week, of cards and
Yeah,
postcards and everything else that just come in. So I was curious, why did they open my letter, and then why did they call me? And I've actually had 2 people that are on my extended pipeline that are 1.5 million homes. And one of the guys was as shocked I sent him a letter as I was shocked that he called. Because he's like, do you know how big my house is? And so we just ended up a 15-minute conversation about absolutely nothing. And then when we were done, he thanked me for the letter and said, stay in touch. So I can do that.
but why did they open it? Why didn't they throw it away?
Well, from what I was told by the people, that I've listed, it's because they're handwritten and because it's first-class mail. They have a tendency to throw metered mail in the trash. And this is coming from mail carriers. So, I mean, they get metered mails and postcards and stuff like that, and they all just hit the trash can. But this was a first-class mail letter that was hand-addressed. And they opened it. So, I mean, that's all I can really ask for. It's, it's not so much how many I send out, it's how many actually get read. And then, is it the right person at the right time? And that's not something you can control either. That's just hit or miss.
Your example is something I've heard before, and I've heard that it works. Why haven't I done it? I don't know. But I heard it.
Well, something Adrian said when I started doing it was, don't do anything for less than 6 months.
Yeah.
He said, do it for at least 6 months and then reassess. So that's what I did. I got nothing in April, some phone calls in May, but nothing really happened, and then 4 listings in June. So, I mean,
And more to come.
yeah, and more have continued to roll beyond that. So I have no reason to stop. I mean, no, and it's, and, if you work out the numbers of how much my actual investment is for the potential return, I'm much lower than a lot of other marketing forms of doing it. It's just, you just have to be willing to just keep sending them out even when nobody's calling you. And I've had some goofy ones too. I had one, they were ready to list, and then they found out they couldn't move their insurance to Indiana, so that's on hold. I had one guy that was ready to list, and the day I had my appointment with him, his dad died. So I've had some goofy ones that I could have had more listings, but they just kind of fell through. When I'm holding on to those people and keeping the relationship going.
That's how you build your spirit.
Yeah, it's just, you just can't get discouraged. You just kind of have to do it and just trust the results will come. You don't know when they'll come. You just keep doing it, and eventually something's got to happen.
So
We
the
had one-
letters are one and done, and you don't send them a second letter, and you don't call them, you're waiting for them to call you.
I wait for them to call me, and if they do respond, I send them a thank you note.
Okay.
We
If
do
they-
the
if they
same, but
respond.
we follow up with calls. We do circle prospecting there. So we do the same letters, but we do circle prospecting. So I think that's a little bit different.
Yeah, I haven't done that yet.
I have done we did 2 sets of golden letters, and it was truly because I had a buyer looking in a certain area. And the funny thing is, we didn't get any calls from this one little townhome community, and then I did in the Orchards community, like a 55 plus, just little community in Duluth. I did get, over a period of 6 months, 2 calls, and I went on 2 listing presentations, and I lost both listings. But it works.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Tell us about your numbers so far.
So to date, I closed on my 16, I've closed 16 units, and I'm about 9.7 million. I'm 9 listings this year and 7 buys.
Good.
I have only 1 pending right now. A little bit like that realtor nerves, you know, about, I have stuff in my pipeline, but there's a lot of just things that it could fall apart, you know, just things could happen, like.
Well, that's why you're always filling that pipeline.
Right,
'cause if
right,
some of
and
that
I
falls out,
am,
you have
as I
everything
was
coming
talking to
behind.
Ashley about one yesterday, like, we have to, anybody that's like remotely, like, I might be thinking of listing or this, like, stay on them, like, what's the expression, like rice.
White on
You
rice.
know they are getting golden letters, they're getting calls, they're getting texts from investors. They probably, in their network, they know 3 agents, 5 agents, 10 agents, I don't know, and those agents are doing it all too.
That goes back to doubling down on the database that we were talking
It
about.
goes back to just,
Smothering them.
yeah.
So that is what your goal right now is going forward for the rest of the year.
It is.
We have, 4 months left? 123 days left until the end of the year.
And how do you-
I'm just telling you,
Yeah.
but that's your focus,
It is.
database.
Yeah.
What would be yours, Chip? Continue your golden letters?
Continue going letters.
To get listings.
And now I want to go ahead and try to expand into another couple of ways of doing things.
Okay.
Because, you know, I have the one thing that's working
Mhm.
that I can consistently do every single day without, I've got that locked. Well, so now it's time to layer.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Pick up one other thing to
Yeah,
add on to
so,
that.
you know, whether it's expireds or FISBOs or something else, just one more thing that I can layer in and get that to where that's now just part of my everyday, that's just who I am, and it always happens.
Okay.
And then just kind of keep doing that.
And that's what they say to do. Find one thing, master it, move on to something else. But
I say
always
I'm
keep that
just
one
dumb
still
enough to
in.
do what I'm told.
Eileen, what are you?
Chip, are you handwriting the letters yourself, or person would have to do the person?
I handwrite them. I can do 50 letters in about an hour and a half to an hour and 45 minutes,
Okay.
depending on how much my dogs interrupt me.
You handwrite the whole letter or
No.
just on the envelope? Just the
No,
envelope?
it's a printed letter that I have on letterhead, and I hand sign them. And then I fill out the envelopes and stuff them with a business card and stamp, and I got a return address sticker.
What about you, Eileen? What is going to be your focus for getting
I think just-
listings for the rest of the year?
Doubling down on the contacts, the 20 contacts per day, really trying to do that. And taking care of my database and farm, mail to, it's like one thing, like one piece a month to the database, to my PCSOI, and to my farm. And I have about a lot of my pieces OI is in my farm. I've really nurtured my neighborhood and surrounding areas. So that's about, I think it's 600 homes. And then probably I just supplement with door knocking when my schedule allows. It's not it like needs to be more consistent. My coach wants me to do 34 a week. And it's really not that hard. I can do that in probably 3 hours, you know, but it just literally with my schedule, it's hard to find that. So sometimes it'll be like an hour and a half on one day and then go back out 45 minutes. But I just really focus on little areas right close to my home because that's all I can manage.
Right. With your farm, what has been your return with your farm?
It's finally coming around.
Okay. And how long have you been doing
So
that?
I've been consistently mailing to them almost 2 years. I've sold the most, but it's still like, there's still a lot of other people selling in there. But for my neighborhood and the neighborhood next to me, I think I've like sold the most, or the agent that has sold the most, but I just try to love on them. So I think if you mail, back it up with, it's more powerful to back it up with door knocking. And I still meet people all the time that they don't have a realtor that they know and trust. They may not be looking to move, but we get information. I have a very successful event in the spring called Donuts and Declutter. And so now it's starting to get where they want to make sure they have that. Like, so that's kind of how now I've been getting their information. I'm like, oh, do you want to be, you know, on the reminder emails for Donuts and Declutter? And they're like, what's that? So I'm kind of talking about it already now in October. I mean, in August, sorry. It already feels like.
We're not quite October, go push it, Eileen, not yet,
Yes,
not
at
yet.
the end of the year.
Okay, good. So before we get to the role play part, with the shifting market that we're in, and listings are hard to find, not only because of how many people, other agents are in the market, people are maybe, if we're educating them the right way, they're realizing that they're not getting the same prices that they were even 3 months ago. How are you winning listings? What are you saying to them when you go on a listing appointment? If they're wishy, I mean, they obviously want to do something because they have you sitting across their table, but when they start throwing these things out, what are you saying, or what are you doing to win these people over in this market that, I mean, everybody's got to know with the gas prices and inflation and all the stuff that's going on, that it's iffy out there. What kind of conversations are you having with these people?
I think it's really important as you've been talking to them, because obviously if I'm sitting across from the table from them, I've had multiple conversations with you before now. And so I really think that it's one of those things that you're talking to them about that the entire time that you're talking to them, every conversation. And it's simple things like, you know, and I know you said that you were looking to sell your home, and, you know, the CMA that we're going to look at here, historically, you know, agents, we would have been pulling the last 3 to 4 months. But what we're going to be looking at today is going to be the last probably 2 weeks, because the market's changing, you know, almost day by day. Am I right? And you're going to say yes. So you're telling me you already know that the market is changing. And so having those types of like conversations and like every little thing that you do, I feel like kind of guides them along to, yes, I know the market is changing. So when you show them the comps and you're going over, okay, and this one sold in your neighborhood for $750, and this one has a finished basement. I know yours is on a slab, but great price at $750. This one sold at $725. It's on a slab just like yours, but it's got a brand new kitchen. Yours is an original 2002. When we sell this home together, you're going to be a buyer, right? Which one of these homes would you choose? Well, obviously you're going to say one of the other ones. So if I'm listing your home at $725 and this home at $725, I can have a brand new kitchen or I cannot. Everybody's going to buy the brand new kitchen. So do you think that it's fair that we list your home at the same price? Well, I would hope that you would say no. And if you do, then we talk about deceleration, not devaluation. But I think just guiding people for them to come to their own understanding.
So like giving them, here's this,
Right.
You choose, like getting them
Right.
invested in the conversation.
And
so
making
they're
it so
getting
that
guided.
like, you can't tell me that you would buy the worst kitchen for the same amount. Like you can't.
Chip, what about you? Are you having any specific conversations around the market to win the listings? And what are you saying to them?
Most of my conversations, since I really am kind of a rookie at it, I mean, I just learned something from that conversation.
Hey, we're always learning.
Every conversation that I listen to other people having, I'm learning something from.
Yeah.
So for me, most of it has been just being very honest and upfront.
Okay.
I've had a couple conversations with people and said, honestly, I am not going to sell your home. At what point in time do I ever talk to your buyer? Never. So if I
That's a
never
really
talk
good
to your
one.
buyer, how am I selling your home? I'm not going to sell your home, I'm going to market your home. And then we go over what we're gonna do to market it. And then we talk about setting the price point based upon what the market says the home is worth. And I'm a firm believer that something is worth whatever someone is willing to pay for it. And everything out there is going to have outliers. You're gonna have people that are gonna pay way more than something's worth just because they want it. And you have people that insist on a ridiculous bargain that they won't buy. But the market is the middle, it's the collective, it's the averages. So if you want your home to go fast, you need to get the masses out there to see it. And in the Cloud CMA, they have that. It's a really good little chart where they show, you know, at the market, you can have this many percentage if you're 10% below market, 15% below market, and here's your numbers of people going in that are going to look at your home. So a lot of it deals with what do you want to accomplish? You know, if you want to sell your home quickly, you're going to have to come in under what the masses say your house is worth. It's just the math. You know, you could say your house is worth this, and that's great. But if the masses don't say it's worth that, it's going to the discount rack. It's just the way it is. So, you know, we have that discussion, like, how patient are you willing to be? You know, my job is to get eyeballs on your home. Now, we got to wait for the right set of eyeballs. The more eyeballs, the quicker we can find the right set. Where we set the price determines how many eyeballs come and actually look at your house. So it's really up to you. What are your goals? How fast do you want it gone? And of course, we go over the seller's net sheet, and it's like, how much do you have to end up with? And then we decide, if we kind of slide this around, you know, how much does what you're asking for the house hit your bottom line? And then where is your actual break point? Where do we have to be?
Does anybody use seller net sheets when they go on listing appointments?
If I know the person's a C, I do. Seriously, if on this scale, like,
This is all
I
the
know
stats and all the.
from talking to the people before I go on an appointment, I get a grasp of who they are. Well, personality wise, like, I'm a high I and a high D, meaning I'm gonna be waving pom-poms while I'm driving my bulldozer through your front door. Whereas Chip here, he's gonna run circles around me with his C when it comes to his spreadsheets versus mine.
Right.
But that also, I think but to the point, I think a lot of what Chip, what you're talking about and what y'all are talking about, you ladies, setting those expectations. You have to be, when you say being honest, I think that's being very realistic, because you're the economist, the true economist on what it is you do. And it's setting those expectations, because you can easily, like you said, a house can easily go into the bargain bin. I just had a listing in Brazelton where another agent came in and did not do her research. She didn't really do much of anything, but did not do her research, most definitely. And the client's home dropped $50,000 in price inside of 30 days. And and these folks called me in a panic. I said, well, this is where your home should sell at, because where it's in the area, but now we're down here where you said, now we're in the median price range in the bargain basement. We have that home with the upgraded everything, but now the price has been lowered to this area. So now it's on me to bring in, you know, those people that have the ability, like you said, to make them want it so that it does sell for more. It did. It went under contract for where it should have been sold for at $450, not $430. So that, I think that speaks a lot to doing that seller sheet. It speaks a lot to showing somebody, you know, Cuba Gooding Jr., show me the money, Tom Cruise. I'm telling you, it works with.
And I don't typically use that, and it came to my mind, which I had a listing, that they're so financially tight. They made a dumb decision when they bought that house 17, 18, 20 years ago. They have like $5,000 to like wiggle. That's it. If I would have taken that seller information sheet, because you think in today's world with the inflated prices, everybody's making a killing. They're not. So I'm like, I probably wouldn't have taken that listing. I am working myself to like a dog trying to sell this thing, and they have no movement at all. So very good for you for taking that sheet.
Did they do a home equity after home equity?
They got an interest only loan when they bought the house 20 years ago and never refinanced it.
Oh, no way.
So that was the big deal.
That just
back
hit.
then.
That's what everybody was doing.
Yeah.
So, but you go on the tax records, and you look to see that they, got their conventional loan or whatever 20 years ago for $350 or whatever it was back
Sure.
then.
No.
And you think, oh my gosh, that was 20 years ago. They probably have, they could get all this cash. No, they have like nothing.
That's the sad.
It is
They
awful.
didn't go get a 2% loan.
It's awful. I don't know what we're gonna do. They're probably gonna pull it off the market next month. Nobody called. Nobody called. Good job. 'Cause they can't move. There's no wiggle room. But it's a good thing that you did that. And I probably should have done that, but I didn't think because they got one mortgage 20 years ago that they would be that tight, with money. So
I think
good for you
it
for
helps
that.
because most people, when they have a price in their mind, they haven't really worked out what their net is gonna be. I mean, it's kind of a cliche. You talk to people and they're like, oh, I'm not any good at math. Everybody says that.
Until it comes to seeing.
Everybody's like, oh, I'm no good at math.
I
So,
still them afterwards.
When you could just have that there
Mhm.
and show them, well, this is what the market says your house is worth. A lot of times that net is more than they were even thinking it would be.
Mhm.
So they're like, oh, I can make that much selling it at what you tell me I should sell it at.
Mhm.
And the perspective changes in the conversation.
Right.
Yeah, and I think that's a very good point, because one of the first things I asked is, what were you thinking your house would sell for? And I found 100,000 different from what I would list it at, and they're like shocked, so let's go with the flow up with them after that.
Mhm.
But even when it comes to what it is closer, I honestly think, some people think, yeah, I'm gonna get this realtor to sell me, I'll do 6%, and yeah, I'll sell it for $350, $450, and I'll walk away with $350, $450. I mean, they really don't understand this translates to dollars.
Mhm.
So I think every situation is different, you've got to assess it, but every single offer I put on the table does have a net sheet.
Mhm.
Because especially when you're dealing with 4 types of mortgages and different down payments, different terms and all. So I use the command one, I love that.
Amen.
And,
Oh, I have it. I have a little school.
oh,
that's
it's,
really
no,
good.
it's so much better, so clean, and every offer comes with a net sheet. But the beauty of it is that you can kind of carve it out the way you want. I took the bottom part is like, what are your closing costs? For seller, I don't care, it's minimal, so I tell them, I don't have your taxes and insurance in there, you'll figure that out. But it's basically, here's your cost you put into it, it's what the buyer asked for, it's what they're paying and what you're getting out of it.
I've got like an interactive one. I've got on my iPad.
Oh, for when you're meeting with them.
Yeah.
You can plug in numbers.
Yeah, I just plug in
calculate.
numbers and you can actually, it has a little slider
Oh, that's really
for,
cool.
how much you're, sell the house at this, it's this, and just kind of slide it up and move it around. And you go ahead and key in the percentage for the, how much of the taxes they paid and all this other stuff, just a rough estimate. And it's got closing costs and everything else, and then you just kind of slide the little thing
That's so
across the
much
top.
better
and then-
So what's
A
that
minus
for?
line B minus divided by 26
that's
by
good.
365
Yeah.
plus line G
No,
plus
it
line.
does. I've got it on my iPad, so we can just sit there and
Taxes.
slide the little thing
I do
across.
it, I have it in a Google spreadsheet too, which is nice because I'll give them a scenario if we sell at 525, 550, 575, just different scenarios too.
Right.
Mhm.
Okay, so if you take away anything, maybe add
I'll,
a net sheet.
before we leave, I'll give you the URL.
Okay, I'd
So
like
you
to
can
see
look
that,
at it.
yeah.
Yeah.
See, Chip, you said you weren't credible. Look at all the takeaways that you're
Right.
speaking
I haven't
to.
done anything yet, though. I'm just kind of
Right.
guessing my way through this.
All right,
thing.
Eileen, as you're yawning over there.
Sorry.
I
don't feel
This is
great.
stimulating conversation.
Go do some door
and she's
knocking.
up on
I'm so sorry.
Jill, real quick, tell us what your focus is for the rest of the year. You already did. No, what was the question that led us to this? Oh, wait, what conversations do you,
Yeah.
thank you, Ashley, so much. Thank you
What
for not
conversations
yawning
with,
and falling
they're
asleep.
not gonna get what their neighbor got. Their neighbor got $100,000 more than really.
Yeah, some of
That's
it.
hard
Yeah.
to say. So I would come with like that CMA, I've done this a few times lately, and say, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, up until about 8 weeks ago, well, we would review this and we would look at the last 3 to 6 months of activity. Here's the actives, here's the solds. here are the pendings. I said, I'm sorry to tell you this, and you would like me to be honest and transparent with the market, but the values of the solds really are irrelevant right now because of this changing market we are in right now. So, and then if they are gonna be doing a buy after, we try to also bring in that this is gonna work in your benefit with your purchase. But I say that the best things we can look at right now, if it's pending and it's been pending in the last like 2 weeks, I'm gonna speak to those agents ahead of time. That's a big thing, like call before, on the way to the listing appointment, or not before that, and it takes them a while to get back to you. Call the agents and ask them, what's the activity been like? Has their seller gotten offers but turned them down? They'll tell you a lot. That's really important. And sometimes you can even preview those properties too, if you have time. But I say, we're looking at what is active right now. We're gonna look at those price reductions, and we're gonna look at the pendings, if they're pending in the last few weeks, because everything else is irrelevant.
So,
And we don't want your house to sell your neighbor's house that's active. So pricing is critical, and it's everything.
That's a great phrase. I love that. I'm gonna steal that, Eileen, okay?
Yeah, well, I love, if somebody's making notes, I love Chip's nugget about, that I am not selling your house, I'm marketing your house. I thought that was really powerful.
if you're running comps right now in today's market, I think you mentioned, Ashley, did you go 2 weeks?
I try to just do one, but
Okay,
that's virtually impossible right now with inventory, so I'll do 2.
2 weeks back.
Yeah.
For sales. You said you went back, just how far would you go back when you're running your
Same
comp
thing.
report? Just 2
I mean,
weeks?
well,
You
No,
wouldn't
or
go
just
what I was
changing.
doing is I was taking the old report, and literally I've done this with 2 sellers. I tore it up. I said, it's irrelevant right now. And then I have another one, or I cross it out, and I'm like, this is what we're looking at. Because even if a home closed last week, it went under contract maybe
30
6
over 30
weeks
days.
ago.
Yeah.
And Jeff Glover's podcast has a great one in July when he Ashley knows the script, like how he's talking to those sellers about the pendings and the actives. Because the closed ones are irrelevant.
Well, something
I heard one
that's helped me
person say
too is,
January. Go back to January.
I'm going
To
back to
January?
January.
yeah,
So I agree with
Why?
that. That's another strategy, is look at things that were under contract last fall. Like, look at the
But-
prices a neighborhood sold at last fall. But I'm not getting into the seller with that, but in my head, I'm feeling like things are like,
But tell me your thought process on why you would look at something that's 100
To
grand
go
higher.
back, I mean, even though since COVID, I mean, whenever, versus 2020.
Yeah.
It's been wacky, but if you went back to January, like even November, December, January, it was still high, but it wasn't like it was in February, March, April, May, even into very first part of June. So if you went back to the first of the year, even to the end of last year, I find it's a true I mean, because
I would.
we're still high. We're not back in
Yeah.
19, but we're not where we were this spring.
Exactly. I
So
think
November,
last
December,
fall-
I still
January.
feel like they're so far over. I've actually pulled some from 2019
Mhm.
to show people, because we've had the conversation of, they're like, well, last year, and I'm like, you have to understand that 2020 and 2021 were falsely inflated. That was not organic. It was not real. Yes, it happened, but that was a moment in time that shouldn't have been real. And we were in 2019, and now we're back in 2019.
Record this.
We're back there. So let's pull because if you look at 2019, our interest rates are back to where they were. Our pricing is literally back to where it was. So we just kind of like remove 2021 and 2022 and we plug them together and we're back where we were. Like everything is normal.
What
I
was the
think
rates
that
in
the key there is the interest
19 were
rates.
5%.
That's what a
At
lot
the
of
beginning
people
of
are thinking
19,
about.
by the end,
Yeah.
they were 2.75.
Oh.
You know, a
But
lot
that's
of people
the
aren't
point,
thinking
like-
about the buying
You
power.
know what?
And that interest rate change, you know, you look at when the interest rates were around 2%, well, the buying power of someone in a particular income bracket was here. Now we've got interest rates in the mid-5s. The buying power of that same person with the same income is down here.
And
To-
even Gary Keller
To a
said
point.
last week, he said this is the weirdest market, like, she's
So
been in it a
hard.
lot longer, Anne has too, but even, this is really hard, you know, when you're telling a neighbor, they're getting same house, everything, or even better house, and they're getting $100,000
To Chip's point, I think you gotta look at, you know, like you're talking, Ashley and I were here looking like hyper local as far as 2 weeks back, right? So there are folks that I have that are buyers as clients that could afford $450 back in May, and now they can only afford $365.
Oh, for
With the
sure.
same
So
income
there
because
again,
those-
the
Yeah.
numbers
It
of
just-
eyeballs on the
2 months of
house,
indecision, they
you
lost
just
nearly 100
cut the
grand.
number of people looking at your house because
Yeah.
even though you think your house is worth this much, you cut a certain number of people
Out
that
of
are
the-
now not able to look at your house because you priced yourselves out of their particular market.
Yes.
So there again,
Excellent.
how many people you want looking at it, how fast you want it to sell, because you have to understand, if you're priced here, the higher you go, the thinner the air gets.
Yes.
Well, the air overnight got thinner without you changing the price of
Exactly.
your home,
Exactly.
you know, just because of the
That's a good
interest
way to put
rates.
it,
Yeah.
But, okay, so June, July, August, y'all have put listings on the market. And eyeballs is a good term, but the term I use is feet through the door. So have you found where you've been able to get them to put it at a price you want them to put it at, and get the traffic and get multiple offers?
Yes.
Okay, see,
So
to me,
I
that's the
think-
selling point, because the listing price is not the selling price. And your objective, Mr. Seller, is to get as many people in the door here as possible, which is how we get more offers. Then we
But
can
I'm
talk.
scared to set them up.
I don't talk about multiple
So
offers.
I would think you're
That's
still
why I'm
gonna,
asking.
I would
Because we're
think
not doing it right
if
now.
you are in a highly desirable school district or area, certain price point for sure, and if a home is really turnkey,
Yeah.
shows really well in line, those you're probably still gonna possibly see.
I'm not seeing a ton of multiple offers.
Okay.
I'm in one right
I don't
now,
know,
like-
because I
I mean,
haven't listed
we've
since
had-
June. Well, we
we had
listed
two.
one the other
You're
day.
saying full price or over asking
Oh,
price?
I'm over asking. Well, let me just say this.
We've-
I've been showing all weekend and I've been some houses. And these listing agents are calling me back saying,
Right, I think it's that too.
We're
is
back
your
to
client
2018
interested?
again.
Yeah.
Well, and
People
even
pick up the
like
phone.
builders.
Jamie knows.
Builders, right?
Builders,
Builders
yeah.
last year, I was literally go to show a
forget
builder
about
and they're like, you can
Forget
show it if
about
you want, I don't
Yeah.
have any. And I'm like, well, that was rude. And they're like, well, do you want it or do you not? And I'm like, well, I don't think that I do. You're incredibly rude. Like, and now they're like
begging.
3.5% commission, 4%, I got you. And it's like,
You're
no,
gonna
this
need me again.
And
You're gonna need me
and
again.
she just said that too, because I had a builder call me yesterday, said, I got 3% plus a $3,000 bonus.
right.
I've seen that
I've been
too.
getting emails all week, $3,500 extra commission. And I'm like, what just happened to you shutting the door in my face like 6 months ago?
Mhm.
Or reduced our commission on new
Right,
construction
and all of a sudden, all
contracts.
that money you saved, you're willing to
Oh.
throw out, like, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So-
as far as listing and expecting a lot of offers, I don't know that I price it to sell.
We just
But-
always
but
have the
we always price
conversation.
it to sell,
But
but
I
you
mean,
still,
not to sit there and wait for.
I don't
someone
have
to-
that conversation with them because I don't
Okay.
want, I wanna set the expectation of what I expect to happen. And right now, I do not expect multiple offers. If I get it, great, but I don't expect that right now.
so are the offers you're getting at asking?
At asking,
Okay, all right, because I mean, personally, when I price, it's at, I know the appraiser won't even point check.
right,
Okay, I'm very safe, but I'm aggressive too, I'm gonna push it out as far as I
Right.
reasonably can. And, but I still want the
So-
market through the door.
Last night, I had an interesting listing appointment, and I called Ashley beforehand. Great house, they've taken care of it in Swanee, North Gwinnett, like very sought out area. But it's like grandma's house, there's wallpaper all over it. And so this is what we're gonna do, I'm trying to do with them, is we're gonna get an offer pad offer, just to show them. I'm gonna give them an amount of as is, like cleaning it up, just not painting the wallpaper or whatever. And then we're gonna do an amount if we painted and did a few basic things. Because they've even replaced 50% of the windows in this house. I'm just like, there's so much value in this house. We just have to get buyers who can't see past HD TV to see it. But it was hard because you don't want to insult the seller there, and that lady literally feels like she's inadequate. She feels like she's blue collar. She lives in the wrong place. She's not good enough for the area. And I'm like, stop. That's what HGTV's done to people. It makes
So
me so
you're
sad.
using open door
I was
with
gonna
a net
use
sheet
for the first
or
time.
AutoCAD with a
I was
net
just
sheet.
gonna give them that information, then I was gonna give them a very conservative price of as is, and then if we do this, this, and this.
Then her net. that she
Okay,
wants.
really make it
Well,
get
no,
rental?
just saying list prices and marketing.
To Eileen's point, and I may bring it to fair housing costs with this statement, but we got folks crawling out of mom and dad's basement in their 30s off the Xbox, now coming out into a place where all they've had exposure to is what's, because they've only been starting to pay attention the last couple of years.
Right.
They have no clue what happened or what the real world was like.
They weren't
You know,
Joanna's house.
They were not. And so with that, that's where, when I have that listening appointment and like you were saying, Ashley, say, look, I don't want to, this is not early 2019 all over again, we're back in the real place. So, or 2020 rather. And I tell them, look, this is the truth. I said, we've got the whatever generation it is coming out of mom and dad's basement off the computers and Xboxes that have great jobs
That's a really good way to say
and
it.
have the money to purchase, and you want their money because it's green.
And they don't know any different.
And they
They're
don't-
entering the market right now as it is.
But they are babies when it comes to understanding, like infantile and not knowing what they don't know. And the problem is we have to market to them. So that's where we're not just economists, but we're strategists in that way, Eileen, with helping them, like you said, show them, okay, if you just want to, serve a hungry man dinner and put it on a plate and it looks good, great value, but you can do some sprucing up. Or you want to sell it and get Frankie's tomahawk price.
And I think that's another takeaway from this, is because the question was, what are you doing to win the listing? Eileen's going in with the 3 options. You got a cash offer, and you got this, and we can go all out, and we can try to get you this. So then they know that you've done your homework. You're just not gonna say, here, let's sign here, this is gonna be
Yes.
$575, done.
But it's
You're giving
still
them the
a
options.
seller's market. There's still not a lot of inventory. And I was so sad yesterday on the phone before that listing appointment, was calling the other active homes. And that agent goes, well, now and this house was horrible the way it was put out there. Even if the seller's in paint, like their Christmas trees in the house, all this stuff. And she
In
goes,
August?
yes, and she says,
Maybe it's old.
she says, well, now it's buyer's market. And I just wanted to punch her and just say, you've done such an injustice
Mhm.
to your clients.
Right.
That's assault
I
as
didn't
well.
buy that house.
Okay, I'm gonna ask, 2 things. If you've been in the market for more than 2 years, since before 2020, go back and run a comp report using Ashley's numbers, the 19th. See what you think, if you feel like in today's market, if that price from 19 would be what you could list it at today. If you weren't in the market for over 2 years, in real estate, then unless you've just always just had a passion for looking at homes, you may not know the answer. But if you've been around longer than that, just kind of play around with it and see if that is a good time frame. I'm gonna do it.
I'm gonna do it
I'm
too,
gonna do it.
yeah.
It's interesting.
Just curious. Or if, because pricing houses right now, everybody said, and as Gary said it's just such a wacky market, we don't even know what to do. So pricing houses is one of them. So use these different tools going back to 19 or going back to November, December, January, and seeing what the prices come back. Take averages of those to help with pricing versus just going back a week or 6 months or whatever, because that's not gonna be what it is today.
Right.
And then one more question, and I'm gonna ask them what, and then we're gonna do a role play. We may not get to all of them. When you go on a listing appointment, do you have a listing presentation?
I do.
Like a formal listing presentation that you use every single time?
I do.
Okay.
So we pre-send them, I actually brought it in the back, but we
Okay.
send them, we hire a runner to drop off the little box to them ahead of time. And so this is actually something that I stole from Nikki Bonds years ago. I look when I walk in the door, did they open the box?
Mhm.
And so you can tell, and this goes back to, again, looking at things throughout, like on your first phone call with them, like you were just saying, hearing their personality, are they talking about numbers, or do you want to just stay on the phone with me for 45 minutes, right? Like, who are they as a person? So then I send them the box. So when I walk in the door, I'll say, do I see the box?
Get your box, get on.
If I
You brought
do
it
see
to
the
share,
box,
right?
I did,
Okay.
yeah. If I do see the box, did they even open it, or is it just tucked in the corner? If it is opened, do they have the paperwork with them and it's sitting here, because that's gonna be him. He's got the paperwork, he's looked through what I've said.
Mhm.
Or did they just eat the food out and like paperwork still in there, they didn't even bother to check it out? Like, it will tell you so much about the person. And then I always ask them, my number one thing is, Anne, thank you so much for showing me around your house today. It's absolutely stunning. I want to make sure that I cover everything in this appointment. So tell me, what is your expectation when we leave this table today? Because you're going to either tell me, well, actually, this market is just stressing me out. The numbers are all over the place. I've talked to a couple of other agents as well, and I'm like, okay, so I need to do my full listing presentation and like then a little bit extra. Or you're like, you know what, we're just really ready to go. We've been in this house for 19 years. I just need to know, like, how quickly can we get out on the market? How quickly can your photographer get out? And it's like, okay, she's pretty much ready to sign. I'm going to speed through this, hit a couple of points, make sure she knows what's going on, and then sign. You don't want to hear my whole listing presentation.
Okay, so you ask the questions,
What was
and that's
the
how you
question?
structure your listing
I
presentation.
let them walk me through the home, and then
Yeah.
I ask them, I want to make sure that I'm covering everything in this. So what is your expectation when we leave this table today? Because I want to know, what are they looking for? And then it
that
also
structures.
tells me how in-depth I really need to go. Because someone like me, if you sat down and did your full listing presentation, you are on my nerves. I do not have the patience or the time.
Probably wouldn't do it either.
Right. But then someone like him probably, I want to see your numbers. I want to see what you're going to do for me for marketing. I want to see the whole kit and caboodle.
Mhm.
So everybody's different. You have to like figure them out.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a great way to put that question.
When it's a couple, you have one of each.
Oh man, that's the worst. The
When-
guy wants to hear it all, and the wife's like, just let me know when we're done.
Because I know when Nikki came and did her listing presentation class, I mean, it was amazing. And I'm like, when Sarah asked me to do this, I'm like, I'm not Nikki. I'm not doing Nikki.
And I
She
stole
goes,
that
"Do your
from
own
Nikki,
thing."
yeah.
But she had, like, here's mine, but she has a full listing presentation that she goes through every single page, regardless of what those people.
So see, mine's
Right.
digital now, and I can't decide if that's good or if it's
Yeah.
bad.
I'm a paper person.
So what do you put in the box, Ashley?
I have our pre-listing guide, which kind of gives them information about the team, who does what role on the team, who they'll be talking to. Kind of like what to expect, and then it's got like Chips Ahoy, some snackies, it's got the Coca-Cola bottle because we're Georgia, and it's got a scraper that's got our logo on it, and then it's got a pen and paper. And
An
I
ice
think,
scraper?
no,
Oh, thank God.
I thought so too.
no. This kitchen's open. It's a little scraper,
Okay.
yeah, the kitchen scraper for the, the pots and or the
Yeah.
Your
pan.
pre-listing buckets are very powerful.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And we
feel
get this
like.
dropped off, so like, this is big for us because right now a lot of people are interviewing multiple agents. And if Anne dropped this off to her clients 2 days ahead of time, and now I'm the first agent that they talk to and I'm coming empty-handed, Anne's already in their mind at the point that I'm walking in the freaking door. So she's already got a leg up on me and I haven't even talked to her. The other thing I always do is I make sure that I ask them, are you interviewing other agents? And if they say yes, I say, great, that's really smart. How many are you planning to interview? Well, we're planning to interview 3. Okay, great. And how many have you talked to? Well, we've only talked to 1. Oh, when are you interviewing the other? I always want to be the last one. I want to be the last agent because I want to be like the final person in your mind.
Mhm.
And I kind of just, at the end of the appointment, kind of presumptuous, but I almost assume that you're choosing me, and I just start asking questions about us listing and when the photographer's coming out and here's your paperwork. And then a lot of people will just end up signing and they're like, I'm not sure what just happened. Other people will be like, whoa. I still need to talk to my husband about this. And it's like, oh, I'm sorry, I thought we were here, right? And they're like, well, no, we are here, but I'm like, so did I do something wrong? You don't feel like I could sell your home? And they're like, no, I do think you could sell it. So it's just building rapport with them.
Actually, a tiny little frame, but a big presence.
Yeah, right? That's so true. That's why I was just got 25
million
million.
about that.
I'll tell you what too. I went into somebody in our office. Are you still with the bonds team?
I won't take anything.
No, it's fine. So I go, okay, so I was like, I gotta make sure.
Nikki said to say hey.
Nikki did this.
It's
Nikki,
okay.
do y'all still do this? Okay, so Nikki did this, and it was this beautiful basket. Well, it was delivered, so she sent it. Then I went on a listing appointment, and Nikki was going after me.
Oh, gosh.
So I pull up, but the house was vacant. So this was on the front, this was on the side door.
Oh, yeah, go in.
And so I pull up, I'm like, oh no. I have no chance. So I go in, and the lady, I was there first, the lady comes in behind, and so she goes, look at this basket. She goes, somebody sent me this basket. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's like super nice. Like, do you know who this? No, I don't know who this people. I have an appointment with them. I'm like,
Why didn't you say, yes, it's mine, I sent it?
so right. So yes, I have nothing to do with these colors. And so anyway, so we go through the whole thing, and I said, well, are you ready to go ahead and list your home today with me? And she goes, well, I owe this person. She didn't even know Nikki. I owe this person a call. And so what did Ann do? I took a
You
deep
did the
swallow.
bold thing, you did the
They're like,
dynamic.
I'll color for you.
And if you've been in bold, there's a script that said, well, if you list with me today, I will call this agent and tell them that you don't want to list with them, that you're listing with me.
You good, girl.
I did that, and I'm like, oh my gosh. What did I just do? I have to call Nikki. I have to tell her she's not coming on this appointment.
Your office fees just
And I
doubled.
did it. I was like, actually, I was crying the whole time. Not really. I was like sick to my stomach, but it did work because she was not going to let me take that without meeting with Nikki first until I said, I'll call her so you don't have to.
Nevertheless, Nikki's rooting you on because you're on Nikki's team.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right. So anyway, so these do work. That was a little side story. Okay, last question. Formal listing presentation or no? You just go in there, get a feel of them, of what they're wanting to do?
I have the formal one that comes out of command.
Okay,
And I
good.
just design it for that particular house.
Okay.
And
I just don't want to run out of.
That's not in my budget yet, but that'll get there sometime.
Any kind of formal?
I do that, we have a pre-listing, Yes, I do, I have a book, it is so dated, it's from like 2017. I just really, I take it with me for some people because it helps keep me on track. It's
Mhm.
like, it's printed pieces in like nice presentation book. I'm working on something new. It's not,
That's okay.
it's
It's different
but
personalities
last
have different
night,
ways of doing
like,
the
they
presentation.
we didn't sit at the table, we kind of sat on a couch setting and we just started talking and it never even came out.
Mhm. And sometimes that's how you build a relationship, it's just talking and stuff, but
I
some
think it's
people.
knowing the person on the other side.
Exactly.
And to your point, real quick, you just said that's not in your budget yet. That's in your budget. I want you to know that costs $6.22 for that entire basket.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Yes.
You can do it, you can do it. Don't cut your golden letters back.
No.
But that's
If those letters go and just throw them in the
All
basket.
right, we had
Role play.
that's it. We had 3 of those set up. Each one was gonna do one on a different topic. I don't think we'll have time because I want to make sure you all have your time and I've got a coaching mastermind after this. Okay, here are the topics and this will determine who's gonna do. You're probably like, oh my gosh, don't pick my topic. Here's the topic. You tell me which one you want to role play, okay? The seller wants top dollar for their home, no contingencies, like the prices and offers that were at the first of the year, but the home isn't worth it. That's gonna be a listing presentation. That's gonna be an objection we're gonna talk through. Okay, the next one would be your seller wants a quick close without lowering the price that you've determined and agreed upon, okay? And the last one would be that you get a web lead and that you've never met the seller before, you've never seen the house. What they described over the phone to you before you get there isn't what the house looks like, but they are very, very proud. How will you get them to the price you feel is right in today's market and get them to list that property? which one do y'all wanna do? And that will determine which one of our lovely, lovely contestants will be doing the role play. Anybody?
You know what, let's do the, little one, what was that one?
Okay.
The quick close,
That's
same
the quick
price.
close without lowering the price, that you agreed upon.
Let Ashley do that.
That was gonna be Eileen. That was Eileen's topic. If you don't, I mean, you guys can work that out. And you can either pick one, I'll role play with you, or somebody in here can ask questions. Be that person. Anybody?
Ty, let's go.
I think
I'll do it with
Ty should
Carol.
role
You
play.
know I will.
Yeah.
I got you.
Okay, Ashley's gonna do it.
So which am I?
You're gonna be the buyer. This is your listing expert.
I'm gonna be the
he's the
seller.
seller.
Oh, I'm
And
so
she's
sorry.
my listing expert.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, yes. I'm so sorry. Yes,
All
there's no buyers here. Yes, so you are going to be the seller, listing expert, and that's what you want. You're meeting with her, you come up with a price, but you want a quick close. But you're not gonna lower your price to get it to go quick in today's market.
Got it.
Okay?
Ty, thank you so much for letting me come through your house today. It is absolutely stunning. I can see why you've been here for so long. So at the end of today's, me leaving, what is your expectation?
Well, ideally, I purchased this property not just to live in, but it's an investment for my next stage of life. I have an opportunity to go to my next stage
Okay.
where I want to be in my forever place, but I need this equity to do that with. And my intent is to sell. However, I know what my property is worth.
Okay, I agree with you 100%. Most of us have an idea of what we want to get for our home. Tell me a little bit about your next phase. I'm excited to hear about that.
Absolutely. Well, my next phase consists of about 50 acres. We're in the mountains. I've already got my spot picked out for my firing range. I've already got this
Awesome.
place picked out for my solar array. And, my wife has a spot for the goats and chickens, and I got the bee aviaries out in the field over here growing with wildflowers.
I
The
mean,
dogs can go wherever.
that sounds fantastic. As long as I'm allowed to come and visit, maybe. Is that sound okay?
Absolutely.
Okay.
House beer is Heineken if you like.
Sounds amazing. So it sounds like I'll be visiting you. Is this still in Georgia, or are you going out of state?
Still in Georgia.
Okay. So have you looked around any for that, or is that what we're gonna be doing after we get this home sold
I
together?
found it.
You found it.
I found it.
Okay, that's awesome. I'm excited for you. That sounds like a good time. So obviously, you and I both, I know you've been watching the market on your own. So you and I have been watching it together. And so the comps that I've pulled today are gonna be literally from the last 2 weeks, because you, like me, are seeing it's changing day by day, right?
Correct.
So with that being said, let's look at these sold homes. So Ty, this one is very similar to yours. It's a little bit more square footage, and it does have the finished basement. And this one over here is basically your same exact floor plan, same square footage, although it has been updated, and I know yours is original to 2002. So
You must be talking to the other seller because I haven't updated house. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
So with, looking at these
Yeah.
and knowing the idea, obviously you have an idea of what you're wanting to gain from your home selling. Looking at these comps, where do you feel like in today's market is a fair list price for us to put?
Well, I understand that this other home is more updated, and I realize that there's going to be a discount on mine for that. However, I also do realize that there is a shortage of inventory, and I'm hoping that we can capitalize on that in the sense that we find that one buyer out there that has that extenuating circumstance where they have in mind, like I do, they want to get to where they're going in like yesterday.
Right.
So we're hoping to find that one buyer, yeah.
So you're saying you're looking for a needle in a haystack?
You know what? It exists.
It does. It just takes a while to find it, right?
It does.
Okay, so do you have the time to wait for that needle?
I wish I did. That's why you're here.
Yeah. Well, obviously I can't find a needle in a day. So we have to kind of look at that and say, do we
Sure.
want to take the time to find that needle? Or do we want to go ahead and make a few more needles available, which would be reducing the price? Because you just said yourself that that there's going to be a little
Sure.
bit of a hit compared to these prices, or these homes are a little bit better value. So, tell me this, the property that you were looking at, how long ago did you find this property? Was it 6 months ago, or is it recent?
Actually, about 60 days ago.
About
Being
60
such a
days
large
ago.
parcel of land, they sit on the market a little bit longer.
They
than
do
most
sit on a
things.
little bit longer. So the great thing, I'm going to be totally honest with you. I've been doing this a long time. The last 2 years has been so stressful for me as a realtor. And I am feeling so blessed that we're coming back to a stable, safe market. So the last 2 years have felt like I'm driving down the highway at 100 miles an hour and no one can stop you, right? Because there is no breath, there is no contingencies, there is no inspection. And quite frankly, it was a scary time because a lot of people were making kind of scary sacrifices to get these homes. And you're standing in line and paying $100,000 over the list price, so you know it's not worth it. And then, not only that, they're coming out of pocket because they were paying for appraisal gaps. Thankfully, we're not in that market anymore. Don't you feel so thankful that you're gonna be able to buy in a safer market?
As a buyer, yes.
Absolutely. So doesn't it make sense that you're not having to pay 100 grand over? So you wouldn't expect to get 100 grand over for your listing, would you?
No.
So then you feel that the pricing is appropriate and we should kind of price this relative to these homes, is that correct?
Again, I do realize that there is more value in the other home, but I'm potentially looking for for that person that maybe watches Chip and Joanna games too much.
I have to say I'm one of them. I very much.
And wants to do the renovation themselves versus me putting the money into it and doing it as my neighbors did.
Yeah.
Because I mean, who wants that brushed brass stuff in?
I mean, I don't know, it's coming back in, Ty, it's coming back in here. So here's the thing, you saw the marketing and we agreed, you love the marketing, is that right? Yes, okay. I don't know that we're gonna agree on price.
Sure.
But I tell you this, with all of the marketing I just showed you, I promise you I will get you the highest bidder. Do we have a deal on that? Can you trust me to list at this? And I promise you I'll get you the highest possible transaction.
I feel with the marketing that you have that yes, we'll probably get the most that we can possibly get from my home.
Okay, so you ready to put me to work? Because I'm excited. Okay, let's do this.
Let's do this.
Ashley, that was awesome.
We're a lost time, girl. Come on with it. Oh.
It's so hard to do that.
It
It is so hard to
Ashley,
do that.
that was amazing.
That
Oh,
was so
girl.
good. She
We
was
gotta
so
figure out
good.
how to compete with that.
We needed that on video.
I quit. I'm going back to selling on
Stop.
eBay.
I know, right? You should be teaching this class, Mary. Yeah, it was, that was awesome. That was awesome.
Actually, we're gonna have you up there against Nikki at some
No,
point.
oh, no,
That is-
no, you have it. No,
You have it.
That was so good.
I have a quick question, but I have to
Yes.
go.
Yeah, ask real quick. We're running over and I don't wanna keep going.
I'm new in this office. I actually once was over in the self-side office, but I think circles around here and I'm comfortable with there. So, but my question, who is Nikki? So I keep hearing Nikki.
Oh,
Why don't you ask the young lady behind you?
Nikki has been in the business for quite some time, and she.
We started almost exactly the same
When she opens her
time.
mouth, rainbows
look at
come out.
so
Jason
her
Vaughn.
husband is the
Yeah.
operating partner or part owner of the market center.
Jason Vaughn.
But she also does it's the Bonds Realty Group right behind you on the wall.
Okay.
They also have probably the most successful group business in the office. And to her, I owe her a lot because she taught me when I had her in a night class. She said, I changed all my passwords to rookie in the year, I forget what rookie the year she was, but to the 2009, she said, I changed all my passwords to rookie 2009. Well, I said, I'm gonna do the same thing. I changed all mine to rookie 2017, and I was rookie of the year 2017. So I'm
She's
just
just a
telling you that
fantastic person
She
all
will
over.
get your
She's
mindset
highly
going.
successful, but she is
Yeah,
probably
she's
one
an
of the
awesome
nicest
person.
people you'll
And
ever.
anytime her
And likes to
husband
shop.
does his talks, come to the meeting.
Yeah.
He's really good at
So
presenting the
I
market.
I keep hearing a lot about Nikki, so, and, being there's this office on me now, I feel like that I've gained a lot of ideas. And now I'm an independent agent, I'm not on a, team or with anybody, but I'm sitting here wondering, maybe should I be? So-
I would talk to Sarah Maslowski about that, the
Yeah.
team leader, because there's always teams that are looking for people. I would definitely go have a talk with Sarah
Yeah.
and just kind of talk that through with her. She can talk the pros and cons of both situations to you and give you guidance.
Well, I mean, I have used Doc for referral services, which has been good to me, which I've been blessed with, but, it's time to try to figure out how to do it without.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you're here.
Yeah.
Because that's how you learn how to do all that.
Yeah.
So.
And it's always good to try it on your own and figure it
And
out.
I'm
and then ask.
going to tell you really quick too, I mean, I'm hoping it's accepted today, but without that referral service, I wouldn't have a $2 million offer in Blairsville on property.
That's
And
awesome.
that's the other
Rock and
thing.
roll.
So I'm just hoping it's accepted today, but anyway, I just feel like though I need to expand what I'm doing, and should I be with somebody?
Talk to Sarah.
Talk to Sarah. I
Yeah.
think she's a great resource and she'll talk you through it. And like I said, the pros and cons. And by the time you leave the meeting, you'll know the direction you need to go, whatever it is.
And we have a coaching program also in here, and I'm not saying that because I'm one of the coaches, but
You are one of the
When I